Hola, say tahai, han, bonjour, hello. My name is Sue Leggett, and welcome to the Central Minnesota Art Board's informational video on how to write an artist statement. The intention of this video is to help creatives prepare an informative and personal statement for our grant applications and other professional opportunities. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the McKnight Foundation, who advances efforts to catalyze the creativity, power, and leadership of Minnesota's working artists and culture bearers, as well as the voters of Minnesota for supporting the Legacy Amendment, which allocates funds to support parks and trails, clean water, and the arts and humanities throughout Minnesota. Without their support, our efforts would not be possible. The artist statement is arguably the most important professional writing any artist will create. Some form of it is necessary for almost every opportunity, such as promotional materials, presentations, signage, and many other things. There are 4 things your artist statement should include. Number 1, who are you as an artist? How is art a part of your life? Where does your passion for art come from? Why have you chosen to express yourself creatively? The answer to this may be difficult and hard to define, as art is often something we are drawn to and not something we choose. However, you can address why you chose a particular art form or genre. For example, an artist statement might begin something like this. As a rural Minnesotan and daughter of poor dairy farmers, my connection to land and place takes center stage in every song I create. Not only does it establish a personal history and upbringing, but it references the performing arts and writing music. Number 2, what is your work about? Every creative is making art for a specific reason. It may be as simple as stress relief or as complicated as addressing a personal internal conflict. It can be location, subject matter, or conceptually driven. How does your passion or curiosity for a particular subject influence your work? How do you address that concept creatively? It might sound like this. I am inspired by the traditional melodies I heard growing up, a collage of Polish, German, and Scandinavian rhythms that make you want to dance even when you're exhausted from field work. This personalizes the inspiration and prepares the artist to listen for certain aspects in the work. Number 3, how do you make your art? What materials, techniques, or processes do you use? Why is this the best method for your concept? Does your studio space or location in the world influence your production? Do your physical abilities? What has drawn you to this art form? Might be like this. Using a combination of European instruments such as guitar, piano, and accordion with state-of-the-art digital equipment and software, I invite an ever-evolving sound that juxtaposes the practices of my ancestors with my modern interests. Pointing out certain instruments or equipment further prepares the audience. However, stating how they are used helps to push them to recognize your unique interpretations and techniques. And finally, number 4, why should people care? What should your audience look for in your work? What should they take away from it? How will your work address the concepts that you are exploring? Since this term is often goal-oriented, try to avoid saying what your work should do and focus on what it will do or has done. For example, this experimental and constantly evolving approach challenges the preconceptions of instrumentation, encouraging the audience to embrace a multicultural, technology-driven future. This points out that the work might be challenging for the audience, but it also suggests that they will be encouraged into a new ideology, as opposed to embracing something that's already familiar to them. When we put the 4 sentences together, we get, as a rural Minnesotan and daughter of poor dairy farmers, my connection to land and place takes center stage in every song I create. I am inspired by the traditional melodies I heard growing up, a collage of Polish, German, and Scandinavian rhythms that make you want to dance even when you're exhausted from field work. Using a combination of European instruments, such as guitar, piano, and accordion, with state-of-the-art digital equipment and software, I invite an ever-evolving sound that juxtaposes the practices of my ancestors with my modern interests. This experimental and constantly evolving approach challenges the preconceptions of instrumentation, encouraging the audience to embrace a multicultural, technology-driven future. There are a lot of different formats for artist statements, but for the most part, organizations expect statements to be professional, informative, and specific to the artist. It should be 1 to 2 paragraphs long. The first paragraph can focus on your approach to art and then contextualize your work. It should explain how you came to create the work, while the second paragraph can focus on the work itself or your goals and intentions for it. Or you can mix the information all together with a flow that works for you and is appropriate for your work. Start by writing your statement in the first person, stating I or my, but you may want to create a version of the statement saying your name instead of I. Using your name or writing in the third person can make the statement feel more formal. Often organizations prefer this as it feels more like something they wrote about you. Your writing should always be professional. This is not the place to be sarcastic, make obscure references, or use unknown abbreviations. You don't know who is going to happen upon this statement, so make sure you always put your best self forward. And when planning what to share, you want to make sure you include enough information to inform your audience, but avoid the obvious. Introduce concepts or methods that will help them better understand what you and your work are about. For example, if you're a dancer, you can immediately elaborate by saying that you are a contemporary jazz dancer. Not only does this trigger the audience's imagination, but it also distinguishes a specific skill set or interest that you possess. So what does it take to write a good artist statement? While they are personal, and you should customize it to sound like you, there are a few tips you want to keep in mind. First, write for everyone. Use clear and common language without getting too technical. Your statement is going to be read by anyone who cares to experience your work, and you don't know what their background is. Try not to use insider terms or reference a technique without elaborating on it. If you need to state a term or process, point out how it appears in your work and why it is important. You do not need to provide a definition, history, or step-by-step instructions unless it is important to understanding your work. Your statement works with the artwork. They should strengthen each other. While your artist statement is not always present with your work, the two usually go together in some way. Write your statement to inform your audience, but also make them curious about experiencing the work for themselves. The flip of this is that if you read the statement after experiencing the work, they should have a deeper appreciation and the details and the unique aspects. Keep in mind that art is meant to be interpreted, so don't limit your audience with too much information. Be yourself and allow your energy, humor, and intellect to come through. Your statement should sound like you and fit with your work. If your work is playful, be playful. If you're driven by research and data, provide that background and be more academic. You want to be unique, but not so much that your statement feels insincere or like a gimmick. Finally, honor yourself and your culture. It is okay to include references outside of what they are familiar as long as you explain them. If you speak or write in a different language that is not dominant in your region, it is okay to include both versions. It's also okay to educate your audience and make them work a little, as long as you are prepared to guide them. And one last thing, only write about what you are prepared to share. Secrets can be secrets. Art is personal and often layered with complexity that either wouldn't fit into a 2-paragraph statement or really isn't for a broad audience. If you have a unique technique that you'd like to keep for yourself, don't share it. If your work is deeply personal, don't tell the story. You do not need to share anything that you are not prepared to share. Your artist statement may need to be modified to fit an organization's requirement. You may be asked to submit a single sentence for a promotional blurb or an entire essay for a book. I recommend you prepare yourself a wide variety of situations so you're not scrambling at the last minute. Rewriting your statement in different ways again and again can also help you solidify your thoughts and feelings about your work. The 3 most requested versions of your artist statement are the long form, which is 1 to 2 paragraphs and what we usually request in grant applications. The short form, which is 2 to 3 sentences and usually used as a promotional blurb or in a showcase situation. And the bio statement, which is a combination of the artist statement and autobiographical information. This is commonly used in promotional materials like brochures or programs, or for things like workshops where people will want to know with whom they are working. For your bio statement, you should include the basic information that you have in your artist statement, but shorten it a little bit. You can use your short form as the first paragraph and include the autobiographical elements in the second, or you can mix it all together. Combining it can create a nice flow, especially if your personal history influences your artwork. Include career highlights that make you stand out, especially if they're related to the artwork that will be presented with the statement. This can include awards or grants, performances or exhibitions of note, internships, unique collaborations, or other professional moments that set you apart. And finally, finish your statement with a personal factoid, such as where you currently live, who you live with, or what you like to do aside from being an artist, such as a hobby or pastime. It's okay to be a little more personal with the bio statement because it's intended to not only introduce your artwork, but you as a person. Writing an artist statement is a very difficult thing to do because it challenges you to put down on paper the often personal and subconscious thoughts that you've been exploring for a very long time. As you go through life, your artwork will evolve, and so should your statement. But the more you write about your work, the easier it will get to talk about your work, and vice versa. It'll also help you decide what you should disclose and possibly even help your work creatively. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. On behalf of everyone at CMAB, we look forward to seeing your applications and supporting your creative efforts. If you have any questions or need any additional assistance, feel free to call or email. You can also learn more at www.centralmnartsboard.org.